Welcome back to another episode of the Tank and Rod podcast, brought to you by Tank and Rod, still sponsored by Tank and Rod. On today's episode, we're going to discuss running, marathon running, elite ultra marathon runners, and how any one of us can run a marathon ourselves. We're also going to talk about Spotify Wrapped, a little late into the year for that, but it's a good segment. And lastly, we will discuss cultural relativism. It's an interesting one. It's a funny one. We're getting better. So stick around and hang out with us for the next hour. And you won't regret it. I can promise you that much. Rod and my co-host, Tank. Welcome to the Tank and Rod podcast. Welcome. Tank and Rod ASMR podcast. Tank and Rod ASMR podcast. Podcast. Hey, what's crack-a-like? We're back in action, folks.
Oh, wow. That's pretty loud in my headphones.
That is fucking loud.
It's tremendously loud.
But when we sit back a little bit, it's
So the reception, though, will be higher?
what?
The reception will be higher?
What the fuck you mean reception?
Like, if I'm sitting back this far, but the sound quality won't be as good.
It's better like this. Like if the sound
Like
is
this?
if the volume's a little higher, but
But you're a little farther back?
yeah, it's good. We can probably turn down a touch.
No, I mean, that's a little too low, I think. That's better.
That's better.
Yeah.
Can you hear yourself?
Yeah, I can hear myself pretty good.
Yeah, you want up?
A little up. If I want to sit back like this, I'm going to be a little up. I can hear the reverb. If I don't.
Yeah. It's crazy how much difference it makes with the headphones in, like listening back to the audio.
Yeah.
There's no, when we were first doing it without the headphones, there was mad echo.
Mm-hmm.
But set that on top of this when you're done. Just because. Okay. What's good?
What is up, buddy?
What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man.
Yeah.
I'm really good.
What's happening?
You know, just friggin' perusing through life.
I need some fucking shit.
Yeah, just got back from vacation.
Vacation.
Took a quick vacay
Vacation.
with the Jacobson family.
Ooh.
Got to explore Northern California. Beautiful country.
Beautiful country.
Beautiful part of the country.
Beautiful countries.
Super nice. Now I'm back at school and yeah, I've been out.
Back locked in.
Yeah, locked in. Spent a total of 15 minutes outside today. Pretty good.
You didn't get to go for a run?
No run.
Let's talk about running.
All right, let's talk about running.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
All right.
Running.
Running. Like, what does running mean to you and mean to me?
Sure.
All right.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
Running.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think running's a pretty good time. I think that it gets a bad rap.
I saw something the other day that was like, at first, running is pain, but then running is peace. I was like, kind of, sort of. I don't know if that's the way I would have gone with it, but my mom was talking to me about it. She was like, yeah, I got back on the Orange Theory stuff. Or she said she, not back on, but she started doing some of the, it's like that training thing. She was like, yeah, I started running and it's just been hurting so badly, like the knees and stuff. And I was like, just keep doing it for a couple weeks. And then eventually that pain will go away because those muscles will build up in your knees and your ankles and your shins and stuff. And then you start to feel it more from a cardiovascular standpoint. And like the pain of it becomes significantly less. Like, seriously, the fucking
I'm locked in. I'm locked in. Bro, shout out Miss Jacobson, bro. Or whatever. She's getting after it.
Miss
Parsons. My mistake.
It's all good.
But yeah, no, dude. I mean, you know, like anything that you start new, it's never going to be like, it's going to be easy. I mean, physically, but riding, it's really not that. It's not big of a deal, man.
No, it's not, and it's so good for you. I think I don't think I'd be hard pressed to find anybody that would sit here and tell me that they were feeling a certain type of way and then they went for a run and were feeling worse afterwards.
Yeah,
mentally. physically, maybe you're tired, but like even then, you get a lot of energy for it, and dopamine and epinephrine and adrenaline, and all that stuff is like
Yeah.
we're locked in, and you feel good after. You kind of brain's a little bit at peace, and you come back and you lock in. It's good. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any. There's definitely no negatives of running, but
No, I think
you ran a marathon.
yeah, I ran a marathon. I mean, I ran it was my own it was a rod marathon.
I remember you called me and you were like, "Yeah, I just been on the farm. I've been doing a lot of running." You're like, "I ran a marathon." I was like, "Oh, that's like a big."
Milo actually called me
Whoa, that
mid-marathon.
was loud.
Yeah, that was really loud.
But I think he did mid
Yeah,
marathon.
I was right literally halfway.
I just thought it was funny. I was like, for some people, that's like a lifelong
Goal.
thing that they work towards.
Yeah.
And you were just like, "Yeah, I've been running for a couple months. I ran a marathon, but you did some pretty cool stuff with it."
Yeah, I filmed it, made it a video. It was kind of like it was, anyone can do it, do whatever. It's you just train a little bit, put your mind
Well,
to
I
it.
think it's
Maybe you run slow, but
I
anyone
think anyone can do it, but for some people it's easier than others for sure.
sure.
And it's not easy at the beginning,
No.
and it's not easy to, if you don't have that mental toughness or that fortitude to like
Yeah.
just really keep chugging. I think for a lot of people running's extremely
Yeah.
difficult. So
Yeah. When I say it's
that in
easy,
mind.
it's more like not to say that it's just a walk in the park, but more that it's easy and it's accessible that anyone can if you're willing to try and you're willing to put the effort in, you will finish, you will get to that 26.5 mile mark no matter what if you're willing to try. That's just a fact.
It's just
A fact of if you willing to get that mark, you will reach it. You may be in pain, but you will reach it eventually. It
I've
may
always
take you
I've
take you a long time or a little time.
been really fascinated with watching some of the top elite marathon runners. Like I always watch on YouTube. There's this guy, he's called Total Running Productions.
Mm-hmm.
And he always makes these marathon race recaps or just kind of like updates on the world of marathon running, which it's interesting because these guys like Eliud Kipchoge, do you know the name?
Mm-hmm.
He's like the best ever, but currently is now no longer the new guy on the block. He's like 24-year-old named Kelvin Kiptum.
Mm-hmm.
And he's unbelievable. And he just ran the world record marathon in, oh goodness, he just ran it like a month ago. Kelvin Kiptum world record, 2 hours and 35 minutes. So I don't know if you remember that there was a documentary that they did about Kipchoge.
Mm-hmm.
It was called like Breaking Two. It was like a big Nike documentary. They put a bunch of
Yeah, I remember it.
money into it. Had these specific shoes, super detailed pacers. Obviously, the top of the line nutritionists, scientists. Anyone who's knows anything in that world was helping on the project. But they ended up breaking 2 hours, which was the goal of the entire project, to get him in physical form that he could break a 2 hour marathon, which is roughly equates to about 4 minute and 15 or so second mile. I think off the top of my head, I could be a few seconds off, but which is insane. Like most people can't run that for a single mile, never will run that time for a single mile in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So to think that these guys can go and do that for an entire marathon. But so he ran that one and broke it and ran like an hour and 59:50 or something. But they don't technically consider it the world record because of this specific type of pacers he had. Also, the shoes that he was wearing weren't technically legal. Like it'd be like they're kind of like spring loaded. A certain type of Nikes that they made specifically for him, and also, like I said, like the pacing lines, and yeah, basically the conditions were absolutely optimal. But he ran the sub 2. But yeah, Kelvin Kiptum just broke the world record, which was set by Kipchoge in Berlin, or it was October 8th, 2023. And he ran but yeah, I love watching these guys run. It's insane. They're like gazelles. It's just so different than watching normal people run. Like
100%.
Insane. They just the fluidity of the motion and like the exaggeration and everything, but it just looks so majestic. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, those are the top of the line guys, you know, and it's like they're just their bodies like they've trained and they're also just they're super adept to do it.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I
Their
think.
their cardiovascular systems are just at a different level, I think. So
Yeah,
naturally, some of these guys have a leg up, but they also work their absolute tails off.
yeah,
I saw a quote or something from Kiptum, like his current routine right now. He's training for the marathon in Rotterdam in 2024, where he's going to try and break the 2 hour world record. And someone was like, "So, what does your days look like?" He's running 160 to 180 miles a week right now, which is insane training. He was like, I run, eat, and recover. It's like
yeah,
that's his entire life. But it takes that level of dedication and practice in order to get to a place where you're challenging the world records and status.
yeah. That's intense, man. I definitely, man. Yeah, I was not doing that
no one,
whatsoever.
no one. I mean, it's still that was like totally just to like underpin you, not at all.
No, no, no. I don't care at all. I'm just saying it's. I think it's just. I think it's. I think that's like.
but I guess
I think it's funny because it's like
just to say that anyone can do it.
no, anyone can do it, and I think that that's the that can that's the beautiful part of it is it's like that like it is still it's accessible for anyone, and you can still have these guys do this insane stuff and like be the top of the line, and like that's to me that's
Yeah,
very inspiring to see people pushing, finding their place in this life to make the most of whatever their gifts or talent or aspirations are and just going for it. And I think that still shouldn't hinder anybody from
no, I mean it's
from
it's such
pursuing
an
it.
individual sport. Kind of,
Yeah.
it's just like it's you and your mind, and you just keep going, and no one really, if you just go for a run by yourself, the only person that's keeping you going or stopping you is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like it's a nice way to work on your own discipline, I think, and just setting goals and milestones that you want to hit or achieve, and then really trying to follow through with them, because it's hard as fuck. Like running sucks ass,
Yeah.
especially early on. It's just ass, but you keep doing it, and then you start to build up kind of like physical tolerance and mental tolerance, and you just like our buddy Cartier, like what he was saying, I try to do it every time now. He's like, just smile. Like when you're in the middle of a run, just like smile, like trick your brain. Whatever pain, your physical pain you're experiencing, it's not that bad. It doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
Just smile and like see how your brain responds to that. Like play with it, play with the chemistry, and see if you can kind of allow yourself to just be like, this is not that bad, because it's totally mental.
What drives you? What do you think when you're running or another moment is like? What drives you the most? Where do you go to? Do you go to like that, or do you go to anger?
I don't get angry. If I'm really trying to push, I'll try to go to like times in my life when I was like struggling more mentally, and because I know what the feelings were like in those moments.
So you're motivated by your down the moments of downtrodden life.
Sometimes it works for me because I
Okay.
know that like what I was experiencing in some of those moments is so it can be much more intense than like the physical pain of the running. And I'm like, I know that I got through all of those moments.
Yeah.
And so if I can kind of like channel some of that energy, it can be extremely motivating.
Yeah. It definitely can
Extremely.
be.
I'm just like, oh, this is nothing. Like this is super, short lived, and it's going to be over in however long I want it to be over for. So let's keep going, because like some of those things that maybe I experienced in the past
Mm-hmm.
could be hard and tough. And so if I can channel a little bit of that like pain, and put it into what I'm doing, it makes it easier. And then also sometimes I'm pretty competitive. And so sometimes if there's other people around or other people running, or I'm in the gym with other people, it's like I can kind of tune into like my own competitiveness and just feel like compelled to work harder or keep pushing. Not to, be better than anybody, but just to like, it gives me this certain sense of feeling like I'm going hard right now. And, maybe that's a little flawed, but I don't know. I think whatever works for you to kind
Yeah.
of channel that. And I think also sometimes it's just like for running, it feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I know that the feelings I'm going to get after, and it's like I'm always positive when I'm running. If I was thinking about something negatively or anything beforehand, pretty much as soon as I get up and go, like my mood and my mind kind of shifts in a positive direction.
Yeah.
I'm doing something good for myself physically and mentally, and I can feel that. And I start to change the way that I was thinking about things. And it just gives me a lot of peace of mind, as well as really motivating for the rest of the day. And I just, yeah, I like it. I've always been, I guess, since I got older and since I kind of got myself in shape after like freshman year of college. Um, I just enjoyed it, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
why not take this body and put it to the max? I think that we're all extremely capable with our physical bodies and mentally of doing amazing things, but I don't know. I also get really motivated by seeing what other athletes do and what other runners or cyclists or endurance oriented people can accomplish. And I'm like, man, if so and so's out there running a 200 miler with no nights of sleep for 4 days, I better shut my ass up complaining after running like 6 miles. You know what I mean? It just,
100%.
and I think that's another place you can go to. Like you said, when you're running the marathon, you just tune into some Goggins at the end, because I mean,
You
it
got to
can,
do what you got to
you
do.
got to do what you got to do. And if there's a lot of people out there doing amazing things, and pushing themselves. I saw another guy the other day. He's running an Ironman triathlon distance every single day for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Swim, bike, run every single day for a year. That's a marathon run, 112-mile bike, and a 2.2-mile swim every single day, which is just.
It doesn't even make any sense.
And then I see all these questions of people asking like, "Why are you doing this?" Or there's a lot of these people that do these crazy physical feats, or like running across or running up the country of Africa, the continent of Africa, or running across the United States or stuff like that. And I don't know. Sometimes when I'm going hard, I'm like, I feel like I could really like push myself to do some crazy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, 100%. I mean, why not? Why not? I mean,
Why not?
that's why when I ran the marathon, that was my part of my idea. I didn't really get motivated by anybody else. I just was just like, uh, why not do this? Like it was. There's definitely a lot more reasons why. Like it was at a very critical point in my life, and that's all. That's that's a part of it for sure. Like coming back from abroad and the liking and looking for like an objective to place my moral and my emotional discontent into, from being that personal feeling of displacement from like being overseas for a year and coming back and just having a lot on my mind. And so accomplishing something like that physical was pretty cathartic for me. So, and it was just felt good to accomplish, like I know, to accomplish something that is just
Maybe
some.
previously you wouldn't have
No,
set
I
yourself
was
up.
never a runner.
No.
No, I was never an
But
endurance
that's the
guy.
coolest thing about it, is like you just don't have to be.
No, you don't have to. You just have to be willing. You have to be willing to try.
But I
Willing to.
feel that a lot. We've talked about that a lot. Just like when you getting back from abroad, or getting back from anything where you were where your motivations and your focus and energy was completely different, and then you're back in the States, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, what do I even put my attention and energy towards? Like, I don't know where to direct my focus. And so I think for me and for you as well, it's just like the only thing that is there that can make sense in the moment is exercise.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Sometimes.
I think exercise helped, but I'm like, yeah, exercise helped me, but it wasn't the main. It was far from the main for me, far from the main thing that did it for me. Like when I came back, there was a lot more to unpack. Exercise was just kind of a conduit to think. Like it was more like I could run and I could think while I was running.
Sure.
Which was helpful. And I think, yeah, there was definitely a lot to unpack.
What do you mean?
There. Like, well, when I would run, it would just the world would just get quiet, and I just would feel. I was also running on my dad's farm and in nature, and I just heard the sound of the birds and the hawks and eagles crying out and coyotes howling and stuff like that.
You're so granola.
I know. I am granola. I mean, look at me. I am granola. I can't hide it. But just listening to the animals and the sound and the wind of the farm, like it just gave me a perfect space just to think about everything I experienced in that year abroad in South Africa and England and France, and just to be like, come to terms with like, I just did something really special, but now I'm in the next phase of my life, and what do I want to do next? How do I want to approach my life next from here on out? Because that phase is over. That year is done. And now it's time to reevaluate and figure out what I want to do with myself. And I was like, that's what I did.
Feet on the dirt was helpful.
Dude, it definitely did. It was pretty smell like shit out there sometimes. I describe it as beautiful, but one time I was running and this plane came flying over above. It was like this yellow plane, and I was like, "What the fuck is that yellow plane?"
He was dropping some pesticide.
Damn straight he was. And I just see the spray flying out the bottom of it.
What do you think he was?
And I was looking at it, and I was like, "That it can't be right." Like that's, and I don't mean it's like I see the plane. I mean like the plane is from like I could throw a rock at the plane from how close it was.
They come down low to drop their chemicals.
Yeah, so those guys just, freaking full Vietnam style, just dropping freaking pesticides on my head. So I just started booking it back.
Like a mister, like through the pesticides dropping.
Yeah, just misting down, and I'm just running back to the farmhouse as the pesticides are just falling.
It's like an interstellar visual, like slow motion, Hans in the background. Jared's just like.
No, it wasn't majestic at all.
It's just like.
No, it was like, oh my God, that smells like shit. And then I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And I turned around and just started just running back. And
Dad.
Yeah, I was like, I came back and I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, yeah, it's the pesticides. And they were like, you should close up your window.
How often do they drop that garbage?
So often.
Oh,
so often.
That's insane.
Yeah.
What were you listening to mostly when
I was running?
When you're doing the long runs?
Coffee break French.
Oh, can we get your Spotify Wrapped? The breakdown.
Oh my God.
It's that time of year, Jared.
It is that time of year, Clark.
Let's open it up.
Oh my God. We really open up the Spotify Wrapped.
I just think it's fucking hilarious.
Dude, people love to share. I mean, do people share these stuffs around?
No, yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't have the.
Dude, I saw a really funny video. It was this guy, and he jumps into his friend's car, and is like they were making a meme about people sharing their Spotify Wrapped, like on Instagram. Like so many people just post their thing. So he jumps in his buddy's car and he's like, I forget what he calls his name. He's like, Jerry, like, oh my God, I saw your Spotify Wrapped. You're such a Renaissance man. Like, you listen to I listed off like 5 people and I was just dying. It was like, what people think.
People care about their Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
It was like, it couldn't have been more on point for who you are. Or like just the dumbest shit.
Yeah.
But so many people post it, and they'll just say like, "This is." And I saw another one today where people post it and they're like, "This is so facts," and then the person posted made the meme. It was like, "It literally is facts. It's data." It's just like it's literally what you fucking spent the most time listening to.
That's clever.
Like,
That's clever.
So funny.
The best one I saw is Milo. It was like a comedy short of like that one. I think his name's Trevor. I don't know, but it was like about like fools who had Drake on their Spotify.
I was gonna say, do you just hear us and we're just we're fighting it so hard?
That one's so funny. Like the Spotify Wrapped was like this guy who was the meme was like this, and he was like It's like, bro, you got Drake on there? He's like, yeah, bro, I don't know. He's like number 5 or something. And he's like, nah, bro, like he's number 1. And he's like, bro, I don't even know how he got on there. Like, that's crazy to me.
That's literally.
And then it just like cuts to him just like
I think Milo and I both had added as 5 on ours.
No. Yours was you had 5.
5.
Miles was 4. Yeah.
And both of us are just like, dude.
No,
like,
well, they're
I
like,
don't even listen to
bro,
it.
yeah, it was so funny. Like, bro, I don't even know how he got on there. Doesn't even, Miles like show me some songs. He's like, bro, like I listen to this song, but like Drake doesn't even have lyrics. Like it's just on his album. Some song out of views, and I was like, I believe you. Like I believe you.
Let's see.
But mine is weird. It's whatever, bro. It's hella dumb.
All right, wait. You gotta sing the song first before you say who it is.
For my number 1 song. Okay.
No, Sylvia.
Non, regarde rien. Non, je ne regarde rien.
Can you play it real quick?
Comment bien, comment faire, ni mal. Yes, that
Play
is all right. Well, I don't think that's actually my rap. That's like
No, it was.
that wasn't my number 1 though.
What was?
No. Nope.
Is it French?
Oui.
So who is your artist? Who's your top artist?
This is my number 1 song. Villanos.
Villanos. By who? The GOAT?
The GOAT of Chorson music.
Edith Powell?
Edith Piaf.
That's who? Edith Piaf?
Edith Piaf. Tu es partout. Oop. That song is Tu es partout.
That was the song you listened to more
the
than any other.
This one was no.
Yeah.
This is another one. There you go. That's my number 1. Edith Piaf. Yeah. Yeah, that's it, baby. We got Edith.
And some French.
Villa, some French, and then some other stuff. And shout out Zach Bryan, good country.
ZB.
I had 3. I had out of my top 5 songs. It was La Vie en Rose, Tu es partout.
It's French.
Dead of the Night.
Jared, you're such a Renaissance man.
I know. And Mon Dieu, my God.
Mon Dieu.
My God.
By who?
All 3. Vie la Rose, Tu es partout, et Mon Dieu is la musique d'Edith Piaf.
Edith Piaf.
Edith Piaf. Oui.
Big French influence in your life. We can.
I sent it to Aaliyah and she said, POV, you have a French girlfriend.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty, that had me pretty dead.
That's pretty good.
But on the real though, that's good music. And Tu es partout is that really good.
That's good music.
It's a great song.
You listen to a fuck ton of music when you're just studying though as well. Like you just get background tunes going all the time.
Facts. I have my background playlist, but Tu es partout means you are everywhere. It's a good one. That's a beautiful one. That one's from the movie Saving Private Ryan. If anyone's seen that, at the end,
great film.
When they're in the war and they're listening to the song on the record, and he's translating it. That's Tu es partout. It means you're everywhere. And
I'm sure they have a nice YouTube clip of that.
They do. And I watched it with Aaliyah and I had her translate and I was like, I'm living out my dream right now. And I was like, let's go. Like to have that song
sitting
translated.
In there watching a good film, letting the French girlfriend translate the is it like the ending credits almost?
It's right before they're about to fight in the end. And they're like waiting for the Germans to come over the bridge and they're just vibing. And he's like, what is he saying? And he's like, the translator guy's like, saying, he's like, I see you. The translator's like, I see you everywhere. He's like, you're always on my mind. Like everywhere I look, I can't go but not see you. And that's like the translation. That song's insane. It was written like 1935 or something like that.
So would that be copyrighted if we try to add it into a?
No.
Fucking go.
Yeah. Edith Piaf while you're running is pretty good. What do you listen to while you run, Clark?
Well, the top one was Travis. And the top 4 songs were the 4 first songs off his new album.
That's so weird.
I was playing it religiously for like.
But what happens? So you go like you click Utopia, gets through 4, and then you're like, I don't like that 5th one, so you just would click away.
Well, it would just be like they're all kind of like hard, like amp songs.
Yeah,
and I would go to the gym or whatever I was doing. It was just like if I would get on the bike for example, for like 15 or 20
Oh,
minutes.
that makes sense.
I'd play that, and it's just like, this gets me amped, and I would just lock in for like 15 or 20 minutes, go really hard till I'm drenched in sweat, and then after I get off of like the hard cardio before I start doing anything else, I would kind of, usually by that point, I'd be like, okay, I can switch it up. I don't really, because I wouldn't listen to much of his music outside of that, but in the gym, sometimes it is nice to just have something that's like, this shit gets me locked in. And it had just come out, so I was like listening to it, and I was like, yeah, it just works. And it just became a routine. For like the first like 2 months we were here, I was in a pretty consistent routine of just like, get up, do some schoolwork, go to the gym around 11, and I would just, as soon as I put in my headphones, I would just turn that on. Bang! I knew it would just get me there every single time. So, but then I switch it up. Sometimes, I don't know. Totally just depends. I'll just do a lot of like more emotional music, I guess I would say.
Clark got classified as a vampire.
So did you.
I did.
Like pretty much probably a lot of people did.
Darker music.
Yeah, I prefer it. Or I don't know if I prefer it. It just sounds good. I like ensemble, choir components, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm working out, it totally depends. Or studying, it totally depends. Film scores, those can be really nice. I listen to a lot of jazz when I'm studying old stuff. Just pretty much across the board. But I usually like, for me, it's like I'll hear new songs and then I'll just play them a lot for a couple weeks. Like I'll just go to my liked songs.
That's what I would figure for your character, Clark.
The
way that you get into shit, like hardcore.
I go to my liked songs and I just like, there's like 5 or 10 that are like from, the past couple of weeks that are just in there, and I'd really just like to over listen to them. And then it kind of just fades out and I get a new crop. And like, I don't know, my sister, when we were in Sac, she was putting me on some Ventura Highway. Great song. I was like, she's been banging that a little bit. Crosby, Stills and Nash, a couple of their songs lately. Yeah, it just depends on the mood,
There you go, baby. That's what
sometimes you just gotta lock into some Adele and just fucking let it out.
I'm not really with you there in the evangelic kind of tracks, but I respect it.
Edith Piaf for the win.
And some Slayer. Slayer's great. That's like my work. It's like I got my workout and then I got the metal mix. Edith Piaf and metal is
metal just doesn't do it for me.
I just eat it up. Just gets me in the zone, man.
I guess it's the same. Yeah, whatever gets you in that zone.
But I don't listen to it only when I'm working out. I listen to metal pretty often.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I listen to metal when I'm going to school. I actually really like metal in the morning for some weird reason. I've been out. I just enjoy it the way it sounds.
I just didn't grow up with any of that influence. My dad was completely different, a lot more more gentle acoustic stuff. A lot of Michael Jackson, U2, the Wallflowers.
That's my mom, yeah.
That kind of stuff. And obviously my mom, I would say pretty typical. John Mayer, John Legend, all the Johns.
There you go.
John to the power of 6.
Pretty much.
Jack Johnson.
Adele for your mom.
Definitely. Dixie Chicks.
There you go. Your mom like a fan of like the Doors?
I don't know the Doors.
It's an older band. That's like,
I think I've seen a couple people have those up high on their Spotify rap. No,
I bet you did. That's like the Doors is kind of like, that's like having like the Cure up there. It's kind of like, millennial, middle, maybe like high 20s. You're like,
if somebody
I have a nice apartment and I like throw on records.
If somebody asks you, like, Jared, what type of music are you into? Do you have a response, or is it just, or are you kind of one of them? It's like, kind of listen to anything.
Well, like if you ask me like what do I like the best, I can answer that.
Okay, there you go.
Like I can tell you like what genre. Oh, I definitely couldn't tell you that actually.
It's just hard because I feel like everyone, I don't know, I listen to stuff totally, I like to think across the board, but then there's so many genres and stuff that I don't even touch or scrape the surface of.
How many genres did you listen to?
A lot. Wait, which one was the genre? I don't have my phone in here. Maybe I could check on here.
Yeah.
It was like 85, I think. Is that the genres one? Maybe let's see. I guess that's a lot. Yeah,
It's just you gotta, bro. You got hands off the fucking head, bro. I tip my hat to Spotify with this rap
dude.
shit.
I mean, it's a fucking incredible marketing scheme.
But it's, I mean, it's great. I mean,
It's a great talking point.
Everyone wants to know what they listen to and wants to feel special because they listen to special music.
Absolutely.
And like everyone,
makes sense.
even if you listen to even if you got Drake in your top 5, bro, like I'm sure everyone's still throwing down tracks that just
like
speak to them.
Number 4 most popular artist. Taylor Swift took the number 1 spot this year.
Of course she did.
Insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's super smart for them. And I think for people, it's nice. It's like, oh, maybe you were super into something for a couple months at the beginning of the year and you totally moved away from it. And then they show you're like, yeah, you spent a lot of time in this department. And then you can kind of tune back into some of that stuff. It's nice.
You know, the one I liked was, where does it say you should move to or go to?
I don't know.
Did you see that one? It's like based off of like,
where to tell you to go? Nashville?
No, mine told me to go to Paris.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
dude.
Which I'm going.
I'll be there.
I'll literally be there in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you lucky bastard.
Bro, Iceland Airlines.
What are you gonna do in Paris?
Help Aaliyah move into her place. She's got a really beautiful apartment for a good deal. And then we have some friends in Paris from South Africa that we spend a lot of time with.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of these, her friends, her girl group. A couple Parisian dudes I may go see, but just going to chill there for a week, less, maybe like 5 days, help her move in.
Sick.
I'll probably just end up being the guy who has to carry all that heavy shit into their house.
That's your duty.
That's my job. So, yeah, then maybe we'll go cruise to I don't know, maybe we'll go do some stuff we didn't do last time. Go to some different museums. Go to some boulangeries. Eat some croissants.
I'm happy for you. It's going to be fun as hell.
Yeah.
It's been a while since you got to see
Elia. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen her, but Paris is Paris is just mental, man. It's so mental, man. That is just like, out of the European cities I went to, which is not many, Paris is just such a mega European city. It's so big, but it's so, it has really insane modern parts. It even has its separate downtown with skyscrapers and stuff, because that's where their economic center is. But in terms of just European big structures of old ancient, not ancient, but 1600, 1500s, 1700s, those that era, there's just insane buildings there that are just not comparable to anything I saw when I was in England. And I don't really care about that shit that much. I'm not I don't really care. I'm not
snob.
Wow, look at this. Europe, so cool. I think cities are cool, but I would rather be in South Africa any day over France.
Same.
You
can still appreciate.
I can still admire the one most spectacular.
You can certainly tell the difference between a beautiful one that is world renowned and world famous and just another city. And there's a reason why it is the way.
Paris is the most visited city in the entire world. And
is it really?
Yeah. France is the most
more than any.
France is also the most tourist country in the world, and Paris is the most visited city.
That's crazy.
And it's just there was a greenhouse there in this park that I was just that is the most incredible building I've ever seen. Just
just a botany,
just this insane Victorian with gargoyles sticking off of it, and just this beautiful plants just coming out of it. And I was in this insane park with this
plants.
Glass spire building, and I was like, holy fuck, this is just wild. It's really Victorian, good gargoyles everywhere and freaking crazy. The Metropolitan, the subway is really ancient and old and looks really cool. And it's just just beautiful, man.
It's wild.
People that constructed that city. Shout out to the French, bro. They appreciate things that are good sometimes, but also sometimes they go overseas and they do crazy colonialism in the past, which is bad. So
they have a habit of that, huh?
Well, they did. Luckily, that's not happening
They
anymore.
had a habit of that.
Yeah, but that's the European classic maneuver from the 16, 17,
French
18.
colonials.
Dude, we don't need to get into we don't need to go from this title would be "Running Spotify Wrapped in French colonization,
French colonialism.
French imperialism." No,
Yeah, that's a
thank you.
good clickbait.
That's a good one. I don't think people really care too much about the second one at all. The third one, I mean.
Maybe we could in the future do a whole episode just breaking down the history of French colonization.
Man, don't get me going on. That's
We can talk about the tragedies of South Sudan.
Dude, I know too much. I don't know too much. I don't know much at all. At all. Let me say that for sure. But I can tell you that, like, man, studying this stuff in school, even just a little bit I am from picking up this minor, is like, it's really eye opening. It's cool. It's definitely like, but some of the stuff is tough read, man. And it's like, it's just crazy. It's like, wow, I don't know shit about the world is just so big and there's so many nooks and crannies, and I was like, I just can't even begin to like wrap my head around all of those. I'm just like, even reading just a few is overwhelming and like emotionally taxing to like,
so just heavy,
bro, to read about atrocious things going all over the world, and you just like, they just keep stacking and stacking, and it's like, it's not just atrocities for the sake of it. It's more like, how can we? It's like things that are like traditions. And it's like, these need to be talked about. Like, you got to focus on this negativity because you actually can change it.
Traditions, like these are the ways in which the men and women interact with each other. Like
literal practices of the. I mean, there's crazy stuff too.
It's not just like
it's not just
subset of the people that are misbehaving.
No.
This is like,
well, yes, and it's not misbehaving. It's like
it's a part of their culture or tradition.
It's yes. The latter, all of it. Like, there's traditions that are damaging, and I could get into for sure. But I mean, it's the reason why you got to focus on it is because it's not just like isolated events. It's habitual treatment of humans in different places all around the world that are replicated based off of systems that have been in place. And even in the U.S., we had it. My prof told me the other day is that in the U.S. and Pennsylvania, up until 1983, there was a law that you were completely legal, or maybe he's 83 or 73. It was completely legal for his husband to beat his wife up until 8 p.m.
So all throughout the day?
All throughout the day until after 8 p.m. and after, it wasn't allowed. Why do you think that is?
The noise?
Yeah. Because it would wake up the next man next door, and you can't wait. He's got to get on the job.
You don't want to wake up the next angry man who's beating on his wife.
Exactly. So keep it before.
Then he's not going to get his good rest.
Exactly, to go work the construction site. So keep it before 8 p.m. Yeah. So this shit ain't just all over the world, man. This is right here on our doorstep.
It is. I mean, you see, there's people all across the country getting in serious trouble, and people that aren't getting in trouble for domestic violence and
all kinds of stuff,
crimes of that nature, which
there's all kinds of things that need to be
stuff that like really
it's all kinds of stuff that needs to be examined. Like, it's not just, it's easy to sometimes, like, for myself, I find myself like being like, oh, looking elsewhere because I'm curious about the world and I want to know about other problems, other places. And that's all well and good, but it's also equally important to focus on what's going on here, like, compared to other places. Like, how can we improve as a society?
Violence is crazy. Like, it's almost like desensitized violence is one thing, like committing violence.
That's a great example. It's a great point. Keep going.
I was going to say, like, committing acts of violence upon a group of people with whom you have no affiliation or understanding, or maybe you have a wrong belief, or you've been conditioned to feel a certain way about these type of people. Like, there is some part of me that doesn't in any way agree with, but can understand how human nature can lead people to doing that. But fundamentally, what I cannot understand is violence committed upon those with whom you are in love or connected with, for whatever reason. It's insane to me. Like, I know that love and intense emotions can bring things out of people. but just like for who my character is and obviously how I was raised, probably, and a myriad of other circumstances, that's something that is not okay at all and
Yeah.
shouldn't be for anybody. And it's just like, it's just sad. And like the fact that that was happening up until I would caution on the side of saying it was probably 73, if not
There's a
the
good
law. Yeah.
maybe
But
73. I would say there's a good deal chance that it was 83. You can read.
crazy.
Yeah, that's a great point
But I
though,
mean,
Clark.
that's just,
But think about it like this: is what if I tell you that beating on those that you love in your certain distinct culture is a representation of your love?
I mean, that's it. It's like the stuff when you were talking, when we were having a conversation the one time about like just people's perception of time, I think it was. And you were
Mm-hmm.
like, no, because there's other people in these small tribes or groups in the world where they fundamentally believe differently. So like your generalization, I forget exactly what I was saying,
I
but
remember.
my generalization in that circumstance did not reign true. But I mean, it's a good point, I guess. I don't agree with it. Like, I don't think that any part of like
Oh, I
violence.
don't agree either. And this is a whole. We got to be. I mean, just be like totally. We got to be. This is a very, very, very complicated
Absolutely,
conversation, and we're
we're
not.
not experts.
No, and there's like all these terms, and I'm no way from the things I've learned. I'm just no way do I know anything. Like I think we will just care and are in like and
I think
whatnot, and we're trying to figure out how to move forward as people in our future in our life of
yeah,
how to carry and do
but I
things.
think we can also both say like we, nothing like that has ever happened to us,
Yeah,
obviously, or I've never, it's a it's a soft thing to talk about, and I think
yeah, definitely some due
we
diligence.
need to be just respectful of. I mean, we're just having a conversation ourselves, but also like this is not something that is taken lightly.
No, and
And
I
for a
think
lot of people, these type of things and this type of violence can mess with someone's
I
entire
just
life. So
I
yeah,
think that the term can be. I gotta make sure to look it up, but cultural relativism is a
okay.
big term in this regard, and I think
Would that in essence essentially mean that like something that is relative in a certain culture might be completely
yes,
ostracized in another person's
exactly
culture?
cultural
But
relativism, and that's the point is that there's like debates of like if you wanted to maintain cultural relativism, you wouldn't the adverse the inverse of cultural relativism could be the application of your own preconceived
mm,
objectivity. So
and
then it's like, but then you're like,
yeah,
but then the thing is where I just to me, and I this is my own personal opinion, is that I don't give a fuck at the end of the day about that. If like there's a line in the sand of humanitarian treatment
I
where you
agree.
treat people, and
I
it's
think
like,
that's an important point.
but I think to understand both sides though of that, and just like think that because I think we can just in the U.S. we can just look at other places and other people and be like,
Point a
you can
finger.
easily just hear how could you do that or
Yeah,
how is that possible,
yeah.
and that can be for really extreme things or less extreme things. But if you just think, if you maintain the idea of cultural relativism and try to in like think about how a place different from yours could gain these insights and function in this way for this
Yeah.
reason, it's helpful. But then you can't. I don't think that means that that does not by any capacity mean you
I mean,
override humanitarian treatment of people.
there's levels to this shit, man. Like when I was
100%.
in when I was in Morocco, we were staying with Aziz, surf guide at the Boilers,
Yeah.
amazing man, and we saw a lot of things that were completely different than they are here, and
Yeah.
things are, you know, things and the way in which the men and the women in a relationship interact in those parts of the world looks more like things here maybe 100 years ago or more than that even. We were where we were staying. It was like his Aziz, his wife, was doing all of the cooking, all of the cleaning. We weren't even really allowed to like touch or
Intervene.
intervene because it was messing with the way in which their culture approaches these situations. So it was like, I'm like, please, can I help? Like, let me put these dishes or whatever it was. Like, they would just serve breakfast to us. And that was like, it's weird because it feels wrong. It's like, that's in my world here, it's like that shouldn't necessarily be the role, but for them, that's how things are and that's how things have been for a really, really long time. And the woman in the partnership has certain, I want to be careful here how I say this, but this is just how it is in those parts of the world. It's like they have the duties that they have, and the man has other responsibilities that he has. And during Ramadan, there's certain things. It's like the women, they cook the whole fast at the end of they cook the whole feast at the end of the fast when they break fast. And there's all these aspects of this that are like, whoa, is this? And you kind of see it and you're like, is it bad? Is it
It's
wrong?
complicated.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It works for them, but like some part of me is like, do these women get really a chance to express themselves and find what brings their soul peace, or are they kind of just like, there's all these questions. But to your point, like cultural relativism, the way in which that we see it and the way in which that we experience it isn't necessarily how it exists in those parts of the world.
Yeah.
So to try and look at it from, their standpoint, say, okay, well, it's different. I'm not the one to say if it's right or wrong. Obviously I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's
but
tough.
Just as an example of like, this stuff exists. I'm sure you've seen parts of that in South Africa, and I've seen it in other parts of South America as well, where the relationship between the man and the woman, and many times there's arranged marriages, and these are done at a really, really early age. And just the whole ethos of the partnership is completely different than it is here, where there's a lot more freedom, I guess, and discussion and exploration.
And I think that's unfortunate. And I used to be like, well, I used to not really have an opinion or just be like, I don't know, this is fucked up. I just can't even approach this problem. And I still feel like I can't still feel that it's unapproachable for me. Not that it's unapproachable, that it's difficult, and I feel kind of powerless to it. But I definitely feel just like, yeah, man, it's tough. You go there, and I'm kind of more inclined now to believe that I don't really care what someone has to say. Like, I don't believe that I fundamentally don't believe that this is appropriate treatment of a human being.
There
And
you
it's
go.
like, that's just how I feel. And it's just like that's tough can of worms, man. Tough can of worms. I think this is a good thing to say. And I think that anyone that goes out and travels to places outside the US, be prepared. Be prepared to see things like that or something like that. Just be ready to engage with some things that are super uber
Different.
challenging.
Yeah. And I would say, just to add, I agree with you, just in terms of like, that's not what I stand for. But it's also not my place to push what I stand for at all. But we can sit here and talk about it. We do have that liberty.
We have
Obviously,
that luxury.
We have to be, respectful and aware as much as we can. So,
but shout out,
I hope we're doing a good job of that.
I hope this.
If not,
because
that's okay. We'll learn.
We'll learn from it. And
but
I think
it's coming from a good place.
Yeah, it's coming from the intention is good, and that only means so much. But I think this is just something that
we
wasn't
can't
even
dance around everything.
No, we can't dance around everything at all, and I'm not want to do that. I just think it's so. Yeah, I don't want to at all.
But it just have to be like, to feel comfortable talking about certain things. I think we want to have a certain level of preparation and information so that you're not just like talking out your ass. It's like, obviously how you feel is one thing, but I think just if we're gonna, with certain with certain nuances of these kind of things, I think a little bit of preparation or just like a maybe more background or understanding of like really the differing sides or how this is playing out, or maybe like the story that I'm talking about in Morocco. It's like we don't know. I don't know fundamentally how the people there feel about the way in which their system works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's an important element
There's
of it
so
too.
much to unpack. And I just think that we don't know jack shit about anything. But I can say though, but we may not know jack shit, but I still think it's important to talk about because like just knowing that things are different in other places, and understanding that like it's not because people are backwards or they're wrong, it's just that things are in different places are different, and it's like
there's no wrong or right or wrong. It's just different. But I do think that there's
a line.
Sometimes there's a good and a bad.
Oh, there's definitely a line of infringing on a person's fundamental human liberties. But I think that in general, just culturally, it's like people are different all over the world, and even in different states in this country. And it's like the more you can, in my opinion, the more if you can funnel like your opinions of the world and of your country through with the hindsight and nuance of the greater number, the better off you'd be. Like if you can, before you make a statement or make a judgment, you can ponder the different sides and different way people may think about that thing.
That's true, but I think that's why it's helpful, and I think that's why
I think it's an important conversation.
We do maybe more so than some, but less than a lot of people. Have some knowledge just because we have been in places where there's a, how would you say,
contrasting cultural experience.
Yeah, so I think it's like we're not completely talking out of our ass. Like there's some experience there, and limited, but yeah, I think understanding that people move and act and exist in different ways than we're used to here. That's just all it is. And then you can develop your beliefs, and maybe the things that you thought were fundamentally good or right about the way we do it here in our home country is then you go and see how it's done in other parts of the world, and you're like, fuck, where was this my whole life? I think some things just align more with other people too. Family values, emphasis on different things like that. It's just different in other parts of the world. And so you may go and you may find yourself in another country and feel more aligned with the ways in which the people are conducting themselves. And so I think if you go more off of like how you feel and how this big organism moves and how you fit into it, then I think maybe for yourself, this is good for me, right? It might not be good for somebody else, but for me, this feels good.
100%.
And I think the same way in the States, you may leave and then come back and be like, this is me. This is me. This is what I know. And this feels to me right. Like I can tell in my body and in my mind that this is where, my soul is at peace.
Yeah.
In some sense. But like, that's why it's cool to get out there and just see, because I think there's just so many different ways to exist.
There's a lot of different walks of life to walk. And there's a lot of different philosophy out there on how to do it. Different
places to go for a run.
Dude, definitely some places to check off the box where I need to get a little run in for sure.
Should we call it?
Let's call it.
That was a good one.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Tank and Rod podcast number 5, maybe 4, maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe 3. Finished.
Fiend. Don't get them confused. Later.